If you're a widow or a widower collecting Social Security, the government just admitted, in its own Watchdog's report, that it has been underpaying thousands of people exactly like you. This isn't a rumor. It isn't some theory off the internet. Their own inspectors found it, they put it in writing this spring, and they counted more than 8,000 widows and widowers who were shorted an average of around $5,800 each. Real people, real money, money that was theirs. And here's the part that should make your blood run hot. For most of those people, nobody at the agency is going to call and fix it on their own. You have to be the one who asks. So stay with me all the way to the end, because number 5 is the single phone call that forces them to actually check your case. And for the right person, it might be the most valuable call they ever make. Let me tell you exactly what I'm going to walk you through. 5 things every widow and widower on Social Security needs to check. What the auditors caught, the benefit most survivors are quietly underpaid on, the timing move that's worth tens of thousands, and the precise way to make the agency review your file and pay you what you're owed, going back months. Before we start, let me clear up the 2 things people get wrong. This is not only for low-income widows who are struggling. Some of the biggest underpayments hit people who assumed their check was obviously correct. And it's not only for the very old. It can start the day a spouse passes. Both wrong. Here on my channel, I break these government rules down in plain English for people over 60, because the agency that owes the money certainly won't. Honest disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm just the person who reads the fine print out loud. One small thing first. If you've lost a husband or a wife, type the word "here" in the comments. I want to know how many of you this actually touches today. Let me put a real face on this, because 8,000 people is just a number until it's one person at a kitchen table. Meet Carol. She's 74, a retired bookkeeper in Michigan. Her husband Jim passed away 6 years ago, when Carol was 68. Jim always earned more than she did, and for 6 years, Carol has been collecting her own modest Social Security check, about $1,400 a month, never once questioning whether it was the right amount. Why would she? She figured the government had it handled. Keep Carol with me, because by the end, she's going to find out it didn't. And let me say this plainly, with respect, because grief and paperwork are a cruel combination. If you lost your husband or your wife, and the last thing on earth you wanted in that season was to sit on hold with a government office, nobody blames you. That isn't a failing. But that's exactly the quiet this whole thing runs on. It counts on the people who are owed the most being the ones least able, in their hardest year, to go and fight for it. So if you can't make the call today, that's all right. Save this video, come back to it when you're ready. The money will still be owed when you are. Number 1 is the underpayment the auditors actually caught, and you deserve to hear it in plain terms. This spring, the Inspector General, that's the independent watchdog that audits Social Security, released a report with a blunt title. It said the agency needs to do a better job making sure widows and widowers are paid correctly and told their options. Inside that report were the numbers. They estimated that more than 8,000 widows and widowers had their survivor benefits calculated wrong and were underpaid by more than $50 million combined. That's an average of about $5,800 per person. Gone, unpaid, sitting with the government instead of in their accounts. How does that even happen? Often it was the cases where a spouse died young, before age 62, or where someone became entitled to 2 benefits in the very same month. The math got handled wrong, and the survivor was quietly shorted. Carol's Jim died at 60, 2 years before 62. That is exactly the kind of case the auditors flagged. And this isn't even the first time. Years back, an earlier audit found this same agency had underpaid widows and widowers aged 70 and older by more than $130 million. The very same kind of mistake. So this is not a one-time slip. It's a pattern the watchdog keeps catching, report after report. And the second half of this spring's findings was just as ugly. More than 5,000 additional people could have gotten more, and the agency's own staff often couldn't even show they'd told these survivors their options at all. When the people who run the program can't prove they explained your rights to you, that's not your failure, it's theirs. You just happen to be the one who pays for it. Who does this matter to most? Any widow or widower whose spouse died before 62, or who started two benefits close together. Quick gut check before number 2. Did you have any idea the government's own auditors had admitted this? Type yes or no down below. I really want to see. Number 2 is the survivor benefit itself, and this is where the everyday money is hiding. When your husband or wife passes away, if they worked and paid into Social Security, you may be entitled to a survivor benefit worth up to 100% of what they were receiving, not half. The whole thing, if it's larger than your own check. And here's the trap that catches widow after widow. Social Security will never pay you both your own benefit and the survivor benefit at the same time. It pays the higher of the two. So if you're sitting on your own smaller check and your late spouse's was bigger, you could be owed the step up to theirs. Picture Carol. Her own check is $1,400. Jim's, when he passed, was about $2,200 a month. That's an $800 a month gap Carol may have been living without for 6 years, and the agency was never going to phone her to mention it. Your benefit and a survivor benefit are two completely different things, and you have to claim the survivor one by name. The number is 1-800-772-1213. And let me clear up who can even claim this, because the rules reach wider than people assume. A surviving spouse can usually claim a survivor benefit as early as age 60, or as early as 50 if you're disabled, and at any age if you're caring for the deceased's child under 16. There's even a version for a surviving ex-spouse, if the marriage lasted at least 10 years. Now tier it to your own check for a second. If your benefit is $1,200 and your late spouse's was $1,800, that's $600 a month you may be missing. If yours is $1,000 and theirs was $2,500, it's $1,500 a month. Find your own two numbers. That gap is the whole ballgame. Who does this help most? Any widow or widower quietly living on the smaller of two checks. Number 3 is the timing move, and this is the one the auditors specifically called out as costing people the most. Survivor benefits work differently from regular retirement benefits, in a way that hands you real power if you know it. You're allowed to take one benefit first and let the other one keep growing, then switch later. So a widow can claim a survivor benefit as early as age 60, leave her own retirement benefit completely alone to grow until she turns 70, when it hits its absolute maximum, and only then switch over to her own, if by then it's the bigger one. That same audit estimated that more than 5,000 widows and widowers missed out on a projected $113 million in extra benefits simply because they were never told they could wait and switch. 113 million, lost to silence. Here's the quiet rule that makes the switch possible, and almost no one explains it. For your own retirement benefit and a spousal benefit, the government forces you to take them together. They call it deemed filing. But survivor benefits are carved right out of that rule. They're treated separately. That's the loophole, except it isn't a loophole at all. It's the law, written down, just never mentioned at the counter. Now, I have to be straight with you. Whether you take your own first or the survivor first depends on whose number is bigger and when, and that's a real calculation. But you can't even make the choice if no one tells you the choice exists. Who does this help most? A widow or widower who has a decent work record of their own and some flexibility on timing. That was the strategy. The next two are about getting the actual cash back in your hands. Number 4 is retroactive benefits, the back pay. In many cases, when you finally claim a survivor benefit you were already eligible for, Social Security can pay you for up to 6 months you already qualified for, in a single lump sum. So this isn't only about fixing your check going forward. If you were eligible and didn't know it, there may be a chunk of money owed to you for the recent past, paid all at once. On a survivor benefit of $2,000 a month, 6 months is $12,000 in one payment. Let me say that again. $12,000 in a lump for months you were already owed. The exact amount depends on your situation and when you became eligible, but the door is real, and you ask for your retroactive benefits by name. 2 things to know before you file, though. First, if you're still working and you claim a survivor benefit before your full retirement age, there's an earnings limit. In 2026, they hold back $1 for every 2 you earn above roughly $22,300 a year. It isn't lost for good, it comes back to you later. But it's worth knowing so the timing fits your life. Second, and this one catches people off guard, Your survivor benefit is based on what your spouse was actually receiving when they died, not some theoretical maximum. If they claimed early at 62 and took a reduced check, your survivor amount inherits that reduction. If they delayed all the way to 70, your survivor benefit reflects that bigger, maximized number. One more reason the exact calculation matters, and one more place the agency can quietly get it wrong. Who does this help most? Anyone who was eligible for a survivor benefit and only now is finding out. And that brings us to number 5, the most important one on this list and the easiest to actually do. Everything I've told you, all of it, comes down to one action. You call Social Security, or you make an appointment at your local office, and you say these words plainly. You tell them you are a survivor, and you want them to confirm 2 things: that you are receiving the higher of your own benefit and your survivor benefit, and that your survivor benefit was calculated correctly. You ask, directly, for a review of your survivor benefit computation. That single request is what flips your case from invisible to active. It's the thing the 8,000 underpaid people in that report mostly never did. Not because they were careless, but because nobody ever told them they could. If a review finds you were shorted, the correction can be backdated, and the back pay can follow. One call, that's the whole key. Bring what you'll need so they can't stall you. Your late spouse's social security number, your own, your marriage certificate, and the death certificate. You can also start a good deal of this through a free My Social Security account at s-sa.gov, where you can see your record and request to talk to someone. Write down the date you called and the name of the person you spoke with. And if the first person brushes you off, and sometimes they will, politely ask again or ask for a supervisor. You are not being a nuisance. You are claiming what an official government audit says people like you are owed. Bring your late spouse's information, bring your own, and ask for the survivor benefit review by name. Who does this help most? Every single widow and widower watching this, because it costs you nothing to ask, and it's the only thing that makes them look. Now let me bring it home the way Carol finally did, sitting at that same kitchen table with a notepad. She made the call. She asked them to confirm she was getting the higher amount. She wasn't. She'd been on her own $1,400 when Jim's record entitled her to about $22. That's roughly $800 a month she should have been getting. She asked them to review how her survivor benefit was figured, given that Jim passed before 62, exactly the error the auditors flagged, and they found a mistake. Between the step-up going forward and the retroactive months they could pay her, Carol recovered thousands of dollars she was already owed, and her monthly check went up by hundreds for the rest of her life. Think about the lifetime math. $800 a month, over the 20-plus years a widow may live in retirement, is well over $150,000 from one phone call she almost never made. And maybe you're sitting there thinking your check is probably fine. The math probably worked out. Surely they'd have caught any mistake. I understand. That is exactly what Carol believed for 6 years. It's what most of those 8,000 people believed too. The whole lesson of that audit is that probably fine is precisely where these mistakes hide, because nobody ever goes back and rechecks a payment that nobody questions. So don't assume. Assuming is what this costs people. A single review call does one of 2 things. It either confirms you're getting every dollar you're owed, and you walk away with real peace of mind, or it finds money that belongs to you. Sit with that for a second. There is no version of that phone call where you come out behind. Here's what I really need you to take with you. Carol isn't sharper than you, and she didn't get lucky. The only thing that separated her from the thousands still being underpaid right now is that one afternoon, somebody finally told her to ask. So let me be that somebody. When the government's own auditors put it in writing that they underpaid widows and widowers by tens of millions of dollars, and then leave it to you to notice, that tells you everything about how this works. The money is real. The mistake is documented, in black and white, by their own inspectors, and the system will quietly keep the difference until the day you speak up and make them look. Nobody is coming to hand it to you, but it is sitting there, with your name on it, waiting for you to ask. So please, do this one thing. Send this to a widow or a widower you know, your mother, your aunt, the lady down the street who lost her husband last year. This could be the message that puts hundreds of dollars a month back in their life. If this was useful, a like genuinely helps me reach more people who need it. And if you want more plain English breakdowns like this one, subscribe to my channel and stay with me. Then tell me in the comments, were you or someone you love ever told about any of this? Drop a yes or a no. And if you'd like my free one-page checklist for making that survivor benefit review call without getting bounced around, type the word survivor in the comments and I'll point you to it. The auditors did their part and put it in writing. Now it's your move. Make the call, ask for it by name,